Hi there, everybody. Welcome back into the channel. My name is Travis, and just like you, I am surviving an avoidant discard. So when the dismissive avoidant chooses the nuclear option. So this is going to vary from avoidant to avoidant, but this basically means whatever method they finally employ to either blow the relationship up or burn it to the ground. So I left off the last video with the discard text that I received from Sarah. Sorry, this is toxic. And when I read that text, I didn't read it as sorry, this is toxic. I read it as sorry, you are toxic. And my disorganized attachment immediately said, you've been misunderstood. She hasn't heard you. This is a communication issue. We can fix this. So I texted her, I am on my way over. She called me more or less immediately, and it wasn't a conversation. She even used the phrase, this is not a negotiation. She said, I'm done. This has run its course. Don't come over here. So obviously at this point, my attachment panic is gone into a complete spiral. I drive to her house. She's not there. I was to find out later that she spent the night at her friend's or her father's place, but she wasn't there. This was Sunday evening. The next day was Monday. I had to go to work. I'm self-employed, so I can't call in sick, and I had a bunch of appointments scheduled for that day. And I remember my first appointment of the day was with a long-term client I had a good rapport with, thankfully. And just like always, he asked me, how's it going? And I couldn't even get fine out. I collapsed sobbing in a heap on the floor in some random person's house, and basically collected myself, my stuff, and booked it out of there. And he was good about it. I found out after that he was actually going through a divorce at the same time. So no harm done. But I canceled the rest of my appointments for that day. And then that evening, I again went to her house to try to talk to her, and she's not there. And I'm calling her, leaving another voice message, and I'm driving home. I remember these messages seem to oscillate between sobbing grief and anger and frustration. And this was an anger and frustration moment. And I remember just screaming at her, why are you being such a see you next Tuesday? And my vision kind of tunneled. And as I was going around a corner, I completely lost control of my vehicle. I drove over a median, through another lane of traffic, over a curb, over a sidewalk, and eventually through a fence before my vision came back. And I'm on the phone the entire time. Like there's a voicemail of this accident, and nobody was hurt. Didn't hit anything, thankfully, but I'm sobbing uncontrollably. And the poor people that are trying to help me think that I'm hurt. I'm not hurt. I'm emotionally hurt. It was just an awful experience. And the next weekend was Thanksgiving. This was Monday, and the coming up weekend was Thanksgiving. And I went for a walk on the walking trails near her house, fully with the hope that our paths would cross. And but I walked to her house and again knocked on the door, no answer. And as I was walking back to my car down the street, she drove around the corner and she pulled up and rolled down the window. And I said, can you talk? And she said, yes. She wouldn't let me in the car. She drove down the next block and I had to walk. It was ridiculous. And she's sitting there in her car, the door's locked. She's got the passenger window rolled halfway down. And right away, she wants to know about this accident. Well, what did your therapist say? Why is this happening, etc. Not how are you, none of that. Like it didn't have any sort of an air of concern for me about it. And in this conversation, I think she handed me the biggest open loop, the biggest cognitive dissonance through the entire relationship. I asked her why are you doing this? Like, why are you being this way? And she said, this isn't easy on me either. I still love and care about you. Now, at this point, we're about a week, 2 weeks past our 2-year anniversary. And in that entire time, I've never heard Sarah tell me verbally that she loves me or cares about me. Her actions through the relationship, for the most part, were very loving and caring, a lot of acts of service, etc., but never verbalized it. And now, after the discard, from inside of a locked car, she's finally saying that she loves and cares about me. But from where I'm sitting, at that point, her actions still aren't matching her words. So at one point in that conversation, I asked her directly, does this mean you never want to see or hear from me ever again? And she stared out the windshield. She wouldn't look at me, and she paused a long time, and she said yes. And again, I'm asking her, why? Like, why are you doing this? And she got frustrated. She's like, I have company coming. I don't have time for this. So this is Thanksgiving. This is a week after discarding me. And she's celebrating Thanksgiving as though nothing has happened. So over the next 2 or 3 weeks after Thanksgiving, she went absolutely radio silent. And I'm probably sending 50 messages a day, combination of voicemails and text messages, all of them unanswered. So after 2 or 3 weeks of this, she finally agreed to have one final phone conversation, as she called it. And she got on the phone and she was very combative and angry right away. Well, I don't have a lot of time. Ask your questions. Very, very defensive. And that conversation ended up being an hour. She's crying as she's describing the quote unquote reasons why she's doing this. And this was the first time that I heard these. And I've mentioned them before, where she felt attacked by the way I spoke to her in a turning lane on her final date night. She felt attacked by the way I put down a menu. These aren't reasons because they're not reasonable, but this is what avoidants do. I mean, they know that they are hurting you. They know that they're ruining things, but they can't face the shame of their behavior. So they have to desperately come up with quote unquote reasons why they're hurting someone they claim to care about and love. I think it was Ken Reed had a great example, like the ridiculous, well, you like mountain biking and I like mountain hiking, so it'll never work between us. Like it's just nonsense like that. It was in this phone conversation too that, she mentioned, well, I sure have a lot of good memories in my phone. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what good is that? Like, you're blowing this up for nothing, yet you're trying to put a positive spin on it that you have a bunch of photos that you can look at in your phone when the real person is right here. And then she tried to make light of it, saying, well, besides, you need somebody that loves hockey anyway. Which, I mean, it's just more ridiculousness. One of the other things she said in this conversation, and avoidants love to use this kind of language, is she said that this chapter is over. This is what avoidants do. They like to neatly wrap up everything so that they can compartmentalize all of the good feelings, all of it, and shove you in a box and put you on a shelf somewhere, so that they don't have to process anything. They don't have to face any guilt or shame about what they're doing, again, to somebody that they claim to love and care about. So shortly after this phone conversation, I was, of course, thinking about this, because this conversation did not give any clarity or closure. It just created more confusion, particularly for me, that comment about this chapter is over. Because in my mind, I was like, well, I never read a book that just had one chapter. So I again tried to call and text her. She wasn't answering. So I went to her office, and I'm explaining this to her, like, this doesn't make any sense to me. And she's, stonewalling me. She's like, no, this is done. And I'm getting more and more distraught. And I end up sobbing and basically begging for grace and understanding and for her to reconsider. And I think I mentioned before that there was another discard prior where she declared to me that she needed 6 months, and she was so happy that we collaborated and reduced that to 6 weeks. During that 6 weeks, there was contact between us. There was phone calls, there was text, there was, she came over here. I took a coffee or flowers to her office, that kind of thing. There was warmth, if we can use that term. There was none of that this time. And if you've ever seen this happen, you'll know what I'm talking about. It was the moment where she actually shut down, and it was in the eyes. It literally looked like the humanity had just been sucked out from behind her eyes. There was nobody behind those eyes. They were just black and dead.
Lifeless eyes, black eyes, like a doll's eyes.
So she wouldn't talk to me at all. I left, and the next day was the moment where Sarah decided to drop the nuclear bomb with a restraining order. This restraining order was for a period of a month, and I believe there was a court hearing about it. I couldn't bring myself to go. I was in absolute shock and grief and disbelief. And that would have been the end of November, and it was renewed for a year. So that was Sarah's nuclear option. Sarah's nuclear option was a restraining order. In the next video, I want to take you through the first 6 months of trying to move on, trying to heal while this restraining order was in place, and the unique challenges and difficulties that created. As always, thank you so much for watching these videos and following along. This isn't an easy thing to share. It's extremely vulnerable. It's been over 18 months, and I'm still, every time I talk about this, like, my legs are so tense right now. It's difficult, and I really appreciate people taking the time to listen. Hopefully people can learn from what I've been through, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. If you like this video, please like the video, share it with somebody who you think could benefit from it, and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video.